Hi, this is Catherine. This is Taking Tea with Catherine. This is Baker Street Blend from Upton Teas, which is a nice blend because it has lapsang souchong in it, but just enough because I don't like lapsang by itself, but with other black teas, for instance, it is just a nice little blend. It balances things out. It's and very Holmesian. This is also themed Sherlock Holmes themes. We're very much keeping on theme here today. This is one of Claudia Spinster's library's Cats and Literature designs. I think that's what it was called. But anyway, this is like my favorite because of Sherlock Holmes. But there are other ones with, I don't know, Pride and Prejudice, stuff like that. Someday I might pick it up. Who knows? But today we're talking about mystery novels entirely because this is a special episode of Tea and Mystery. It is my TBR for March Mystery Madness. And I've been excited about this for a while because I love reading mystery novels. I don't think that has escaped your notice if you've watched my channel more than once. But I would say, among the fiction types, genres, I love classics and I love historical fiction a lot. And then I love mysteries pretty much as much. So, if you could find me a historical mystery or a classic mystery, we're really on board. I am really. So having a monthly challenge that is just all about reading mystery novels, murder mysteries, etc. is something I will definitely participate in when I can. And I did last March. It was my first time I got to participate, and what a good month to be distracted and have bunches of books that I love to read as an escape, right? March 2020, can you imagine? But I don't need to get into that. So this is not the first, obviously, since I did it last year, this is not the first March Mystery Madness. I think it started about 6 years ago by Elizabeth at LizziefayeLovesBooks, and she has a bunch of co-hosts. I will try to remember to link them all down below at some point. But, so a lot of people who love to read mysteries and have all kinds of stuff planned out for the month, not just on YouTube, but definitely on YouTube as well. And so there's a bunch of prompts that you could use to pick out your titles. I tried to stick as close as possible, but I did stretch one or two of them in my own way because I figure, you know what, it's the only way I could fit in the books I want to read, so I might have to play with it a little bit, but I stuck to it as close as possible. A little creativity, but not too much. And I picked a lot of books. So I don't know if I'm actually going to read all of these in March. Well, I'm not sure if I'll actually finish all of these in March. But I thought I will pick all of these and show them to you. And then I'm just going to, after that, go by mood. Well, one or two of these I might be like definitely reading. But the rest I will just, when I'm in the mood for them, I will pick it up. And whatever stays behind, I will read in the months to come. Who knows, So I will kind of go by the prompts and show you what. Sometimes one book will match the prompt, sometimes two books, sometimes two prompts will match a book, etc. So let me start. I thought I'd start with the first one, obviously, begin at the beginning, but I already stretched it at this point. So the first one is single, which means single word title. So there are a number of mystery novels that I've read that were single word title that I loved. For instance, C.J. Sansom's Matthew Shard-like mysteries, which are also historical mysteries, had a lot of single word titles in the series. Moriarty by Anthony Horowitz, I thought that was rather good. And I'm sure there's plenty others that I could choose from, but I was really trying, because I put a few books on hold. Some of these books are library books. And some of these are recent purchases, but I decided not to, after the announcement of the prompts, not to buy or pick any other books just to fit these things. I wanted to really try to work with what I already had. I did recently go to Book Off and thought, if I see anything. But otherwise, I wasn't going to, try, so I stretched it a little bit. And yes, I didn't find anything at Book Off. So, single word title I couldn't find in any of the books that I possessed or had out of the library, except for Curtain by Agatha Christie, which is Poirot's last book, and I just am not in the mood for that right now. I'm okay with reading books out of order, as you shall see, but I didn't want to. I just didn't want to read the last one. I'm not in the mood. So what I did was I picked a story out of Echoes of Sherlock Holmes, which is edited by Laurie R. King and Leslie R. S. Klinger, and I had the first one of their compilations, and I really like it. So this one has two one-word titles, but I picked Irregular by Meg Gardner. So I'm assuming this is going to be... Oh, something happened to this page. Did I rip it already? I'm assuming it's going to have to do with the Baker Street Irregulars. That makes sense. Which were Sherlock Holmes' little spy network. He used usually boys, children, and I guess he gave them a little bit of money to just go places that adults usually didn't go to, or places where kids just weren't noticed, and just notice things and just report back to him. I thought that was brilliant that they used that. Obviously, in modern times, when they did Sherlock from, I guess, 10 years ago, 10 years ago, they couldn't use children, I guess, so they used the homeless network, which I don't know. But either way, it is quite irregular. So I'm assuming that's what it's about. Isn't this a beautiful cover? Anyway, so that's the first one. The next one is Number, and that actually wasn't so hard. I actually had a few things to choose from. But I decided, I know, you're going to be like, more Sherlock Holmes and more pastiche. Everything is pastiche. Even the mug is a pastiche because it's cats playing Sherlock Holmes. But you know what? I am a walking pastiche with this hat on, so what do you want? So this was, now I think is considered a classic, sort of. Although certainly not the first Sherlock Holmes inspired story, but this is the 7% Solution by Nicholas Meyer. It says being a reprint from the reminiscences of John H. Watson, MD, which, obviously. I like to imagine that Sherlock Holmes was real, but yeah. But, so I have another book by Nicholas Meyer, The West End Horror, which I think is also Sherlock Holmes, but I haven't touched it yet. I wanted to start with this one, so I shall. I think this has to do with Sherlock Holmes seeing a psychiatrist or psychologist to talk about things, and I think it's Sigmund Freud. That would make sense. So it's a bit historical too. So I'm pretty excited about that. The 7% Solution is a solution of cocaine, I think. Isn't it cocaine? I think it is. Which is a little bit, one of those realities about Sherlock Holmes that is a little sad. Well, not reality, but you know what I mean. When I was in years... Oh, it's so sad. There was this bar in Brooklyn called the Waste Station, and it was kind of like a steampunkish, sci-fi-ish themed bar. The bathroom looked like a TARDIS, which is why I was drawn to it, because I'm a Doctor Who person. More about that later. And they had the drinks menu had a bunch of, some Doctor Who things and some sci-fi, and then I think they had a 7% Solution on their menu of drinks. I think. I don't think I'm making that up. But anyway, they closed last year, which I think is such a shame. I didn't get to go back. But this is the reality of now. Okay, so that's the Number. And person, that was easy enough because there are plenty of things that refer to people, even among my choices, I think. But I'm just, sort of. But the one I chose, and yes, I know, broken record, more Sherlock Holmes inspired stories. Don't worry, it's not all we're going to have. But this is the first in, I think, a trilogy. I'd accidentally gotten the third book out first, and even though I don't always mind going out of order, if I can start in the beginning, I will. So this is A Study in Charlotte. Charlotte being the person. It is by Brittany Cavallaro. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name, but it is about... I read the first chapter when I was taking it home from the library. It's about the descendants, I think, of Sherlock Holmes and Watson meeting each other. I think Charlotte is Charlotte Holmes. So that's all I know about it, pretty much. I think it's technically YA, if I'm not mistaken. So that's kind of cool. So that's person. I will let you know more about it if I read it. So place. There's a lot of things here that have place, I think. Yes. But what am I going to pick? So, okay. The first one I'm going to show you is one I've been trying to get to for a while. So, I will probably go further into my origin story of how I got into mysteries over this next month. And I probably mentioned it before in other videos anyway, so whatever. But when I got into a lot of different mystery stories, it was through the mystery program on Channel 13, the PBS, public television, public, whatever. They broadcast a lot of TV shows, mostly British, that were mystery shows. So that's how I got into Sherlock Holmes. That's how I got into Miss Marple. Watched Poirot later, but I was aware of him. And one show that I used to see all the time advertised, but for some reason my family didn't watch it, that I remember, was Inspector Morse. And I, didn't think much of it. And then the show Endeavour came out, which is like a prequel show, when he was younger, Inspector Morse, and when he wasn't Inspector yet. And so I watched that first and really liked it. So I decided, well, I should really start watching Inspector Morse. And I did, and I liked that too. Not as much, but I really did enjoy a lot about it. I like Oxford itself. So then I thought, man, I need to get the source. I need to get the stories written by Colin Dexter, because that's what it was based on. So I got a hold of a bunch of the omnibus collections of them, and this is the first one. And the very first story is The Dead of Jericho. That's the place. I think it's pretty much near Oxford. I don't know if it's like a suburb of Oxford, but I know I passed it on the way to Oxford. So Jericho is the place. So let's hope I can read this. So this is just one mystery. It's about, let's see, just about 200 pages. So that seems doable. So obviously I'm not going to read from the whole book. There's other things here that refer to place. We'll get to that in a moment. The next one is another one where I had to stretch it a little bit because it's weather. And I didn't have any titles that I could pick up right now that were, maybe if I would have searched harder among my things, that were actually, that said anything about rain or snow, wind, hail, sunshine. I don't know. You name it. I probably could have found something if I kept looking, but I thought I would go by this book, which was one of the books that I chose for last year's March Mystery Madness, and I didn't make it. I ended up reading the same author, but different book, so it's just a little switch off, and I just wanted to get to it, and I think it's really appropriate for now. So this is White Corridor by Christopher Fowler. It's a peculiar crimes unit story. Bryant and May are the the main detectives. But, excuse me, I sound very nasal again. But you can see that there is a snowflake in the front because the story has to do with someone gets murdered in the Peculiar Crimes Unit, and some of the people who can't are kind of snowed in. So it's a, what do they call it? Locked room mystery. So the snow has a lot to do with the story. So there you go. The next prompt is color, White Corridor. So I thought that was very convenient. Right? And I love that series so much. I spoke about it before. So then we have Time and Space are the last two. So you're going to see me playing around here. Time. Now this is my only reread, and I really hope I can get to it, if possible. But that is The Daughter of Time. This is when a detective is laid up in a hospital, I guess, and so he's recuperating. He can't really do much of anything, so he basically just does an investigation of Richard III while he's laid up. And this did lead to a lot of people being obsessed with maybe Richard III's innocence. As we know, we don't know what happened. I do lean more towards he probably had a lot to do with all the things that went down in his reign. But we don't know for sure. And I just love the possibility. Just like with Shakespeare, although I don't like this as much, the whole Shakespeare didn't really write his plays. I don't mind reading about people's theories just because it's interesting. Although I'd rather just go with this. I don't know why there's like whole societies where people are invested in the fact that Richard III was innocent, which I think is cool. But it's like, what do you have to do with that? Like, I could understand the people who have to do with Shakespeare, because some people are descended from the people that might have written Shakespeare, I don't believe any of that. But either way, what does anyone have to do with wanting Richard III to be proved innocent? Like to get so involved in it, I mean. I don't mean just maybe having a thesis because you're studying and stuff. You know, you're a historian. You want to maybe come up with an idea. Of course, I can understand that. But, like, I mean, even if you're related to him, if you're related to Richard III, you're probably related to the current monarchy too. So, like, what can you gain out of it? But it's just so fascinating. So I enjoyed this as a mystery. And it was, in a way, a murder mystery, because who killed the princes in the tower? Singular. Space, I thought I would just say White Corridor, because that is a space. But I stretched it again because I have wanted to go back to, I should say, Miss Marple. I know that I was reading Miss Marple years ago, and I haven't picked her up in so long. She's just so heavy. No, I haven't picked her up in so long, and I felt a need to go back to Miss Marple. And I thought, let's start at the beginning with Miss Marple, because Murder at the Vicarage is the first one. And I don't remember actually reading that one. I might have, but I feel like I read the ones that I already own, which I've had in my apartment forever. Like 30 years. I'm not kidding. More than 30 years, actually. I'll get into that another time. And, but I didn't see the Murder at the Vicarage, so I took it out of the library. I think my sister's also going to be reading this, so it's not necessarily a buddy read, but it's a little bit-ish of one. And so, starting with Miss Marple again, I'm very excited about that. She is the queen of cozy. As opposed to Poirot, who's kind of like more Golden Age detective, etc. But I enjoy him too. But this almost looks like it was going to be large print, the way it is, but it wasn't. So that's good. So why am I saying time and space? Well, this is like broken record, because I mentioned this in my last video. When I think of time and space together, I think of the Doctor from Doctor Who traveling in time and space. And though when I got into Doctor Who, I really enjoyed watching the episodes, and I knew I was going to be a fan anyway, especially when I was watching it getting into the 10th Doctor, and they had Queen Victoria, and they had Charles Dickens shows up. They had Madame de Pompadour, who I read a book about and was shocked that anyone thought of her at all. So I already knew that I was going to like Doctor Who. But it wasn't until the episode with Agatha Christie, even though it was a corny episode, but I'll get back into another time why I'm so into the idea of what happened in that episode, having to do with how I got into mystery and tea, actually. So that's another story again for another time. But yeah, so seeing that episode was like taking me from, okay, I'm a fan of Doctor Who, to I am a Whovian. So, and then the Van Gogh episode was like, if I was a Whovian then, I am a Whovian even more so now. Like, I'm still very much into Doctor Who, but not in that feverish way, I think. None of us want to have fevers right now, right? Anyway, so the other reason, but the point is that The Murder at the Vicarage is one of the novels mentioned in the story, in the episode, and there really kind of is a murder at a vicarage, but there's a wordplay too. Anyway, I'm sure Agatha Christie, there she is. I'm sure she was like not having any idea that we would be talking about her and mentioning sci-fi at the same time. I mean, come on. But that's everything from the prompts. The bonus prompt is to read something that you picked up just because of the title. And I actually have two, kind of. Both books that I had started in the past and now. And both of these I think I bought at the Strand. Like the Agatha Christie books. Okay, let's not get distracted. Oh my goodness. So, alright, this is a book that I mentioned recently when I was talking about books in translation that I was thinking about reading. And this is a novel bookstore by Lawrence Cosset. And it's a Europa edition. I usually like those. I like French flaps so much on in everything. So it says a devotee of Stendhal. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Another writer that I have to get back into reading, who has shunned the company of his fellow human beings to live on the outskirts of a tiny village in Savoy, is kidnapped and left for dead along a forest road. A middle-aged mother who spends much of her time shuttling her numerous offspring along twisting mountain roads loses control of her car and ends up injured but alive in a gorge. Meanwhile, an elderly man of unbreakable habits is taunted and threatened by two unknown men while on his morning walk along the Cliffs of Brittany. Mystery abounds, but a novel bookstore is no everyday mystery. The victims here are not members of the underworld toughs or thugs, but mild, meek, and apparently ordinary people. In the eyes of their aggressors, they are guilty of only one crime, expressing their tastes in literature. So, actually, I don't even know if this is a murder mystery, so I don't know if this counts. I think it's supposed to be murder mystery, but you know what? Left 4 Dead is close enough. Maybe they die anyway. Not that I want them to die, but I just thought that's kind of like a good mix of a mystery story and kind of a bookish. And I just love the name, a novel bookstore. So if I can get to this, I really would like to. But the other one is also could fit into the prompt for time. So that's good too. And that is Gaudy Night by Dorothy L. Sayers, which I've been really trying to get to for a long time. Also, I think takes place, in Oxford. It's a little bent in the back. I hate when things are bent in the back already before I get to start them. But yes. Yes, I think I think that's in Oxford, and that's great because I enjoy reading about Oxford. So, I mean, that's pretty much everything that has to do with prompts. I have 2 other books out from the library that if I can get to, that'll be nice. There's A Murder Afoot by Vicky Delaney, the next in the Sherlock Holmes bookstore mysteries, bookshop mysteries. And this I got out of the library too. Oh, it's got cat hair on it already. This is Biblio Mysteries, Stories of Crime in the World of Books and Bookstores, edited by Otto Penzler. Who is this? Well, this is him. He is the proprietor, of the Mystery Bookshop in New York City. So I've mentioned this before. It is a bookshop that used to be Midtown, and then they moved far downtown, which means I don't get to it as often as I'd like, because that is not an area I can frequent too much, but it is really close to the Fountain Pen Hospital. So if I can get down there one day, it's near Tribeca, it's not far from the World Trade Center, so if I'm in like that neighborhood, anyway, that could be okay. And so I like the fact that he's, compiling stories and stuff like that. I really want to get down there though, instead of just picking books out of the library, but we'll see. Time will tell. Anyway, so that's a lot. I can't show you the whole stack without, knocking myself over. And it would fall on Janey, who is right next to me. Hold on. There she is. I thought, if you guys have hung around long enough, you get a good look at Janey. She loves you. Huh? Not. So that's all for now. Let me know if you have any books on your TBR for March Mystery Madness, and this is not the last of my TBRs. I have other things that I'm participating in and am going to try to read. I hope I can read all these mysteries, but I'm not going to lose sleep if I don't finish all of them in March, but I'm very much looking forward to it. This is Catherine, and down there is Janey. Taking Tea with Catherine. Have a lovely tea and mystery-filled day. Bye.